Hello, it is Throwback Thursday, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2019. Steve Sipress here on an uncharacteristically somewhat chilly, overcast, cloudy, rainy, slightly windy winter day here in usually sunny Paradise, Arizona. Jim is here, good seeing you. And so my beautiful wife Michelle and I watched a movie last night, Green Book. Tom is here, good seeing you. I don't know if anyone's seen this. Toby is here. This Green Book. So we heard all about this, that it won, it's up for like all these Oscars for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, all this kind of stuff. And it won Golden Globe or something else as the Best Picture or whatever. So, you know, okay, we got to see this thing. And I was extremely pleasantly surprised. So I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but if you liked Driving Miss Daisy, there you go. It's pretty much the same movie, only it's a true story. And so there's a lot of fun with it, but what struck me, of course, you know, I can't just watch the movie and say, wow, that was fun. Great story there about the road trip. I had to look at it from the entrepreneur perspective, and what I saw was the title of this book, The Green Book. I never heard of it, but it was based on a publication that was published for about 30 years, from 1936 to 1966, called The Negro Motorist Guide, the Negro Motorist Green Book Guide or whatever, and later it was called the Negro Traveler Guide because it started listing international places, and it was published by a guy by the name of Green, Victor Hugo Green. Guy from New York, lived in Harlem, and as a postal worker, which is pretty much a super cow, anti-entrepreneurs you can get government job, this guy had an entrepreneurial bent, and he started compiling in about 1930, as the story goes, he started compiling a list of all the establishments in the New York area that would serve black people, African Americans, because basically massive discrimination. I mean, that's where the movie was extremely frustrating on one hand, the indignation and the racism and all that, but also uplifting on the other hand. Again, I don't spoil the movie, but how the characters overcame some racism and grew together through it and all that kind of good stuff, and they grew as people and all that. But this Victor Hugo Green, love it. He compiled this list for years, and then he finally published it in 1936, and he prophetically said right there in that first edition, hopefully someday, or he did say, not hopefully, he said someday this will no longer have to be published because Negroes will have equal rights with the white man, or, you know, paraphrasing whatever he said, and the indignation will no longer be suffered. But until then, I'm going to publish this guide because you just got to know where African Americans, black people, can get served, where, you know, amazingly, I mean, and so the reason it's on Throwback Thursday is because this story took place in 1962 and 1963 in real life. In the movie, it was a couple of months. In real life, it was a year and a half these guys were together. And that was, that's during my lifetime. And I remember some of this stuff as a kid, but oh my goodness, of course I wasn't, you know, at that young an age, barely, you know, my preschool days, traveling through the Jim Crow racist South, which unfortunately to this day, people know that have traveled through or lived there, you know, it's still got remnants of crazy racism going on. But anyway, Green stopped publishing the guide. He printed 15,000 copies a year, sold hundreds of thousands of copies. And from, not only did he publish that guide, but he started branching out from New York to other cities and eventually to internationally to a couple of Caribbean places, I think, Jamaica or Bermuda or something. And but then he started a publishing house to self-publish his own publication. And he sold it mostly in gas stations around the country, and motorists, travelers could pick it up and figure out what restaurants they were allowed to eat in and what hotels they were allowed to stay in and even what gas stations they were allowed to get gas at. I mean, I remember the whole colored-only, you know, sit-ins at the the lunch counters and water fountains and all this kind of nonsense. Like, so that's brought forth in the movie, and it starts out where the title characters of the movie lived in New York City, where I grew up. So that's why it's Throwback Thursday. Brought back some memories of my childhood, and some not so great ones about those days. But Victor Hugo Green, gotta love him, retired from the Postal Service, started his own publishing thing, and then in 1947, he started his own travel agency. Just brilliant. That's a stroke of entrepreneurial brilliance. Not only was he printing, publishing, and selling the guide, but now he realized, hey, let's help people book their travel in these establishments. Why not? He's pointing out where they are. Why doesn't he just take the next step and say, by the way, let me help you book your trip. If you're driving all the way from New York to Florida, or where, let's book your 2 or 3 night stays on the way, or in this case, again, I won't spoil the movie, but many nights spent on a road trip. So I just love the entrepreneurial story. So I started thinking, I know a couple of people that have done that in real life, and I started thinking, I just was talking to a client about this the other day, about the concept of modeling. And I discussed it on a video about a week ago after that conversation we had fairly in depth. When you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea, don't think you have to start with a blank piece of paper. You want to model success. So Victor Hugo Green published the Green Book, which not only was the color green in the movie, it just said Green Book and it was green. Then I realized when I looked it up, published by the guy named Green. So it wasn't called the Green Book because it was green. It was called the Green Book because Green published it, and then of course he made it the color green. I'm guessing that's the way it worked. But anyway, he modeled that, of course, on other guides, like a Yellow Pages, for instance. So what can you do in your business? First of all, can you put together some kind of a directory, some kind of a guide in some kind of an area that there isn't one right now? You know, that's how Google started. That's how the Yellow Pages started. That's how Yahoo started. That's how search engines started, as a directory. Hey, there's all these websites. Reuben Donnelly in the 1880s in Chicago. Hey, there's all these phones now. Alexander Graham Bell invented this phone. Let's put together a guide so everyone knows all the numbers. Well, Victor Green said, let's put together a guide, a directory, that has something to do with my life, being a black guy, and wondering where the heck I can go to eat without getting the crap beat out of me, or without getting not served. And I don't want to get pissed off going into all the details about the indignation and the racism. But I just started thinking, what kind of I have a couple of clients and a couple of people I've helped that just on free strategy sessions that are not clients that have done directories. And you first of all can elevate yourself to the status of an expert simply by publishing a directory. So that there's no doubt that Victor Hugo Green, now, he passed away in 1960. So the last 6 years that thing was published, his wife had taken it over. But for 24 years, he published the thing. And then as his initial publication in 1936, he prophesied, 1964 Civil Rights Act made the book basically obsolete, and it stopped publishing soon after because Jim Crow laws were going away, and technically it was illegal to discriminate. So technically, people could stay and eat in these places, not that they would want to a lot of time because they're not welcome. You have to be pretty strong to overcome that stuff. And there's other movies that show that, like stories of Dr. Martin Luther King or Jackie Robinson and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, love seeing the guy, the star character, true story, based on a musician, Don Shirley, pianist, who I'd never heard of before. Looked him up. What a great guy. And it was played by the guy who came to fame in my life as the lobbyist in the House of Cards show, in the early few years of that show. So great actor. And the other guy, also great actor. And it ends up that the subject, the driver of this Driving Miss Daisy type of remake, true story, actually became an actor and acted in a couple of dozen movies, a lot of mob type of movies. He was in The Sopranos, he was in Goodfellas, he was in The Godfather, he was in all these kind of things. So all kinds of cool stuff coming from who knew Just we sat down to watch a movie because it was nominated for some awards and won Best Picture in the Golden Globes or something. So all kinds of great stuff. Most of all, get those entrepreneurial wheels turning and think, what problem can you solve? That's what Victor Hugo Green did. He said there's a problem, black people traveling around, that you don't know where you can stay and where you can eat. And if you're on the road and you're traveling and it's nighttime and you got to stop somewhere, you can't be sitting there guessing which hotel can I stop at, or which restaurant can I, you're hungry, or which gas station can I get gas, God forbid. You see plenty of gas stations, but none of them will let a black guy fill his car up with gas, for crying out loud. So he saw a need, a pain, a problem, and he solved it. And therefore built several successful businesses from it. I love it. Think the same way. You see a problem, you see an indignation, you see something that irks you, and you say, man, there ought to be a solution to that. Go ahead, do it. That's entrepreneurialism. And understand, it doesn't take $1 bazillion. You don't need venture capital. Most businesses started with almost no money at all, just an idea, modeling success, and then taking massive action. Those are the 3 steps. You got to think big, you want to get a successful strategy in place, and you want to take massive action. I hope you do that. Oh, we got some questions, comments, and a whole bunch of other people here. Rich says, enjoying your background music via wind chimes. Thank you. The wind chimes are going because it's a little windy out here, and I'm going to step in the rain here, but those happen to be, of course, we'll just say that's the rhino of the day. They're the rhino wind chimes. I'm not going to go out there because it is kind of pouring out there. But yeah, I didn't even hear it in the background, but thanks for pointing it out. Rhino of the day. The rhinos are chiming some romantic music here, and I'm wearing my romantic red, totally red, kind of flowery shirt there for Valentine's Day. So hopefully you guys stop watching this video already and take out your sweethearts and have a fantastic Valentine's Day. Phyllis here, great seeing everybody. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments, the shares, all that kind of great stuff. Thanks for being here on Throwback Thursday. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will catch me back here again tomorrow on Foundation Friday. I'll give a business building tip, a foundational, basic business building tip to help you help more people, have more fun, make more money. See you then. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye-bye.